The fluffy creature in the forest. Jace liked walking in the forest. It was quiet, calm, and far from the busy city life. Every Saturday he put on his boots, carried his small backpack, and explored new trails. This forest near his town was thick, with trees full of birds and sometimes even wild animals, but today was different. The air felt heavy, the sky was gray, and the wind was cold. As Jace walked deeper into the forest, he heard a sound, a soft, strange cry. It didn't sound like a bird or any animal he knew. It was high-pitched, almost like a baby. He stopped and looked around. The sound came again. It was close. Jace stepped off the trail and followed the sound. He moved slowly, careful not to trip on roots or fallen branches. Finally, he saw something under a large tree. At first it looked like a bundle of glowing fur, but then it moved. He knelt down. It was a small creature, about the size of a rabbit. It had soft white fur with a faint blue glow. Its big eyes were shiny and wet. One of its legs was bleeding. Its breathing was fast and shaky. It looked weak and scared. Jace's heart softened. "Hey there, little guy," he whispered, reaching out slowly. The creature didn't move. It just looked at him with wide eyes. Carefully, he picked it, up in his arms. The creature didn't fight. It let out a soft, sad whimper. "Don't worry," Jace said. "I'll help you." He wrapped it in his jacket and walked back to the trail. As he walked, he felt warmth coming from the creature, like a small heater. It was strange but comforting. The creature snuggled into his chest and closed its eyes. When Jace reached his cabin at the edge of the forest, he placed the creature on a blanket near the fire. His dog, Max, walked in and immediately growled. His tail stood up. Max never acted like that before. Jace calmed him down and put him in the other room. He returned to the fluffy creature. It was awake now, staring at the flames. Jace cleaned its wound gently with warm water. As he touched it, he felt a little shock, like static electricity, but ignored it. He thought maybe it was just nerves. Later that evening, Jace tried giving the creature some water. He looked at the cup, sniffed it, and then it copied him. Jace had taken a sip first, and the creature did the same. He laughed. "You're smart." The creature made a small, happy chirping sound. It tilted its head, like it was trying to understand him. Then it made a strange sound. It wasn't quite a word, but it almost sounded like, "Ya. S." He froze. "Did you just try to say my name?" The creature just blinked. Night came quickly. Jace made a bed for the creature near the fireplace. He laid down on his own couch but couldn't sleep. He kept looking at it. There was something too strange about the way it looked at him. It felt aware. Then suddenly his lights flickered. The fireplace hissed. His phone on the table buzzed even though it was off. Jace sat up. The creature was glowing brighter now. Its eyes were open, but shining with blue light. It floated a few inches off the blanket for a second, then dropped back down, fast asleep. Jace stared in silence. "What are you?" he whispered. He didn't get an answer. Just then, a gust of wind hit the cabin. The window rattled. Max barked loudly from the other room. The power went out completely. The fire still burned, but everything else went dark. Jace stood up, breathing slowly. The creature was still glowing faintly in the darkness. He picked up a flashlight and looked outside. Nothing. He came back in. The creature was awake again. It stared at him. Then, in a tiny, soft voice, it said something clear. "Jace." Jace dropped the flashlight. She starts acting human the next morning. Jace woke up with a sore neck. He had fallen asleep on the couch, still holding the flashlight he dropped last night. For a second, he forgot everything. Then he looked at the fireplace and remembered. The fluffy creature was still there, but something had changed. It was sitting upright, not like a rabbit or a cat. It was sitting like a person, with its tiny arms resting on its knees, and it was watching him. Again. Okay, Jace said slowly, rubbing his eyes. You definitely didn't sit like that yesterday. The creature made a soft chirping sound and tilted its head, just like Jace had done a moment ago. Then, to his complete shock, it tried to smile. Whoa. You're mimicking me? He asked. The creature raised its tiny arm, just like he did. Jace tested it. He raised his right hand. The creature raised its right arm. He leaned forward. It did the same. He sat back, staring in disbelief. This isn't normal. You're not just some lost pet. The creature chirped again. Then, in a voice much clearer than last night, it said slowly, Jace. Good. Jace nearly fell off the couch. You're talking. It looked confused at first, then carefully it pointed at him and repeated, Jace, good. Then it placed its paw-like hand on its chest. Me. Nira. Nira, he said slowly. The creature nodded. Nira. That was the moment Jace stopped treating it like a cute alien pet. This was a person, a being, not from Earth, not from anywhere he knew. He stood up and backed away a little, suddenly nervous. The creature, no, Nira, noticed. Her soft glow dimmed. No. Fear, she said, looking sad. No hurt. Jace. Help. Her voice was broken like she had just learned to speak, but the meaning was clear. Jace calmed himself. He took a deep breath and sat down again. I'm not afraid, just confused. She blinked slowly, then looked around the room. Her glowing eyes scanned everything, the books, the TV, the furniture, She pointed at the TV and asked, Box, sky? Jace chuckled. No, that's just for watching things, not real sky. She touched her chest again. Real. Nira. From sky. Jace stared. You're telling me you came from space? Nira nodded. Fell. Bad ones. Chase. Hide. Change form. Wait. You changed your form? Into that fluffy thing? She nodded again. Safe. Small. Hide form. Now. Safe with Jace. Jace leaned forward, full of questions. What are you really? What do you look like when you're not this? Nira was quiet. She looked at the fire, then at her glowing hands. Her voice dropped lower. Not ready. Still weak, still small. Jace nodded. It's okay. You can stay here until you're better. Suddenly, Max, Jace's dog, ran into the room. He had chewed through the door lock. He growled again at Nira, but stopped mid-step. Nira raised a single glowing finger and whispered, Friend. A soft pulse of blue light touched Max's fur. The dog calmed instantly, sat down next to her, and wagged his tail. Jace's mouth hung open. You just mind-controlled my dog? Nira tilted her head again. No, just speak. Feelings. Calm. Right, Jace muttered. You're basically a psychic space bunny. Nira frowned. Not bunny, warrior, of Valari. Valari? My home, on. Now her glow flickered dimly. A sadness passed across her face even though her form was still small and fluffy. Before Jace could ask more, his TV suddenly turned on by itself. Static, white noise. The screen flickered, then showed strange symbols, alien letters that glowed in a blue light. Nira's eyes widened. No good, she whispered. They found. Who found you? Hunters. From stars. They. Coming. Jace felt cold. Something about this didn't feel like science fiction anymore. It felt real. Real. And dangerous. The transformation begins. That night, the wind howled through the forest like a living thing. Jace sat in his cabin, staring at the strange blue symbol still glowing faintly on the TV screen. He had unplugged it, but the screen refused to turn off. The alien writing flickered like a warning, one he couldn't read. Nira sat curled beside the fireplace. She wasn't sleeping. Her glowing fur pulsed with quiet light, matching the rhythm of her slow breaths. But her eyes were open, and they were watching the door. "They're close," she said softly. Jace looked up. "The hunters?" She nodded. "Can feel them in sky, searching." He shivered. Not from fear, but from the truth in her voice. "How strong are they?" he asked. Nira closed her eyes. "Strong enough to burn a moon. Not strong enough to understand Earth. Or you." That answer didn't calm him. He stood, walking toward her. "What are you going to do when they find you?" She looked up. "Change." Before, he could ask what she meant. Her body tensed. Her fur stood on end. Her glow brightened. She let out a sound. Not a scream, not a growl, but something between pain and power. "Nira? Are you okay?" Jace stepped back. Not small anymore," she whispered. Blue light poured out from her chest. Her shape began to shift. Her body lifted from the ground and floated a few inches into the air. The air grew thick with pressure. Max, the dog, ran and hid under the bed. Her fur receded into her skin like mist being pulled back into a cloud. Glowing lines like tattoos formed across her limbs. Her hands stretched, fingers forming. Her legs grew longer, feet splitting into toes. Her head changed last. Ears shifting, mouth reshaping, eyes glowing brighter. In just seconds, the small, fluffy creature was gone. In its place hovered a beautiful, glowing alien girl, not more than 5 feet tall, with luminous blue skin and long, silver hair that moved like it was underwater. Her eyes were bright violet, shaped like stars. She wore nothing but soft threads of light that wrapped around her body like a dress. Jace stood frozen. "Nira?" She floated down slowly, landing on her bare feet. Her voice was clearer now, stronger. "Yes, this is my true form." Jace could barely speak. "You're stunning," she smiled. "Strange to you?" "No, just not what I expected from a space furball." She laughed, a real laugh, and it echoed softly around the room, but her laugh faded quickly. "I changed early," she said, placing a hand on her chest. "Too early. They forced it. They're pushing energy from orbit, trying to find me." "You mean they're scanning Earth?" She nodded. "But Earth resists them. Too wild, too human." Jace looked at her glowing skin. "You're glowing like a flashlight, won't they see that?" She flicked her fingers and instantly her light dimmed, her glowing dress wrapped tighter, like armor forming around her body. Jace blinked. "Whoa, can you fight them?" She looked serious. "Not yet. I'm still weak. But if they come here, I won't run." Outside, a rumble echoed in the sky. Jace ran to the window and saw a strange light above the forest. A triangular shape hovering high above the trees, nearly invisible except for how it warped the stars behind it. "They're here." Nira stood beside him. "Then we hide and prepare. You sure you're strong enough?" She looked up at him. Her star-shaped eyes glowed softly. "No, but I have something I didn't before." "What?" "A human. Secrets from the stars." The sky above the cabin was no longer quiet. A silent ship hovered high, cloaked in shimmering light. Birds had flown away. Insects had gone still. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Inside the cabin, Jace sat with Nira near the fireplace. She no longer looked like a small creature. She looked like a glowing alien warrior, dressed in shifting light and silence. But she was shaking. "You're afraid," Jace said softly. Nira nodded. "Not of pain, of being taken again." She stared into the fire. Her glowing hair fell across her face like silver rain. Jace didn't speak. He just listened. Then Nira finally said the words she had been hiding. "I was not always like this. I was royalty once, daughter of the voice of Valari, but I ran, Jace frowned. You ran? Why? She looked at him. Her eyes shimmered like galaxies. Because I was meant to marry a killer, a high general, to bring peace between rival planets. But he didn't want peace. He wanted control. So you escaped. She nodded. I took a forbidden path through dark space. My ship crashed. I changed my form to survive. Jace blinked. Into that little fluffy thing? I used an ancient genetic shell. It protects, confuses trackers, but it weakens me. And now, they found me anyway. Jace stood up and walked around the room. His mind was spinning. A runaway alien princess? Hunted by her own kind? It sounded like a sci-fi movie. But Nira wasn't fiction. She was real. And what do they want now? He asked. They want me alive. So the wedding can continue. So the war can continue. And if you say no, they'll break Earth to get me. Jace stopped. Wait, Earth? Why would they harm this planet? Nira looked sad. Because, to them Earth is nothing. A dirt ball. Weak. Alone. But it's not, Jace said. Humans fight harder when they're cornered. We don't give up. She tilted her head. You believe that? He nodded. I've seen it. We're messy, loud, and broken, but we protect what we care about. And right now, I care about you. Nira smiled faintly. Then she stood and placed her glowing hand on his chest. Then I must show you something. Suddenly, the cabin lights flickered. A strange pulse came from her hand, into Jace. In a blink, he was no longer in the cabin. He stood in the stars. Galaxies spun around him. Massive ships soared past like whales in the sky. He saw alien cities on floating rocks, glowing towers, endless skies of violet and gold. And in the middle of it all, he saw Nira in full light. She was taller there, her body covered in radiant armor, wings of plasma at her back. This is who I was. Her voice echoed in his head. But that world is gone. Then the vision faded. The cabin returned. Jace dropped to one knee, gasping. His eyes were wide. What was that? A memory, she said. Shared through touch. He looked up at her. You're more than I thought. I'm also less than I was, she said. But with your help, I can become whole again. Suddenly, a loud knock hit the cabin door. Boom. It wasn't a human knock. Nira's eyes went wide. They're here. Jace ran to the window. Outside, dark figures moved through the trees. Tall, armored, and holding glowing weapons. They're not knocking to talk, he muttered. He looked at Nira. You said they want you alive. What if we give them a different reason to run? She narrowed her eyes. You mean to fight? No, Jace said with a grin. I mean to scare them. Make them think Earth is dangerous. She smiled slowly. Then the lights in the cabin dimmed again, and this time, it wasn't because of her powers. Outside, the storm had arrived. They come for her. The first blast came from the sky. A sharp beam of white heat struck the ground just outside the cabin, melting a tree into glowing ash. The windows shattered instantly. Jace dropped to the floor, pulling Nira down with him as glass flew through the air like knives. Max barked wildly, then ran under the table. They're not here to talk, Jace said, heart pounding. Nira's glowing skin flickered. They're trying to scare us first, show power. Then they don't know humans, Jace muttered, crawling to the emergency supply box under his couch. We don't scare easy. He pulled out an old hunting rifle. It wasn't alien tech, but it still worked. He also grabbed flares, flashlights, and a roll of wire. What is that? Nira asked. Tools, he said with a half grin. We're not running, we're setting a trap. Nira raised an eyebrow. You want to fight them with that? No, Jace said. I want to delay them. Buy you time. You said you're not at full power yet, right? She nodded. Then let me do what humans do best. Stall and improvise. Outside, the forest lit up in flickers of red and blue as several dark shapes moved in a line toward the cabin. They were tall, armored, faceless. Their armor shimmered, like liquid metal, and their boots didn't make a sound on the leaves. Nira grabbed Jace's hand suddenly. They're not alone. They brought a crawler, a tracker drone. It can smell energy. Mine. Can you mask it? Only for seconds. After that, they'll know exactly where I am. Jace's mind raced. Then we won't give them a chance. Within minutes, Jace had placed flares on long wires across the trail outside. He positioned them between trees and buried firecrackers, under piles of leaves, primitive tools but loud. Then he handed Nira his spare walkie-talkie. Stay hidden. Use this if you need me. She looked confused. I can speak to your mind. Yes, Jace replied, but I can't speak to yours. That made her smile. Then she touched his forehead, her fingers glowing. For your courage. He felt a warmth move through his skull, a soft hum. Then it vanished. What was that? He asked. If you die, she said softly, they will feel it. And they will run. The ambush began when the first hunter stepped near the trap. Boom! The firecracker exploded under his foot. The flare burst into the sky, lighting up the forest with a red glow. The alien twisted and aimed, but there was nothing to shoot at. Just trees. Then another blast came from the left. Smoke filled the air. From behind a tree, Jace took his first shot. It hit the hunter's armor and bounced off. But it got their attention. The others turned toward the noise. Come on, Jace whispered, moving fast through the trees. Follow me. He led them away from the cabin, deeper into the forest, dodging between roots and fallen logs. But they were fast. Too fast, and one of them wasn't fooled. The crawler. It broke from the group and headed the other way, back to the cabin. Nira felt it before she saw it. The drone was spider-like, crawling through the underbrush, glowing red eyes scanning the air. It clicked and hissed as it moved. Didn't run. She stood tall. When it saw her, it froze. Then its body opened like a flower, recording her image, sending signals to the sky. Nira raised her hand. Blue light shot out. The crawler exploded in a flash of heat and sparks. But the damage was done. The hunters knew. From deep in the woods, Jace heard a scream, not human, a signal. The others stopped chasing him. They're turning back, he muttered, breathing hard. He ran. At the cabin, Nira was ready. Her armor brightened, her feet hovered off the ground. Her eyes burned like two suns. The first hunter stepped into the clearing. She raised both hands, and the earth shook. Blue roots of energy shot from her palms, hitting the hunter mid-chest. He flew back 10 feet, armor cracked. Another one came. From the side, she spun, released a shockwave of light, and sent him crashing through a tree. But one got close. Too close. He raised a sharp, glowing blade and stabbed forward. Just before it reached her, Jace tackled him from behind. They both hit the ground hard. The blade missed. Jace groaned, bleeding from his arm. Thought you needed backup, he said through gritted teeth. Nira stood over him, hands glowing brighter than ever before. You are not my backup, she said. You are my reason. Then she raised both arms, and a storm of light erupted around them. The fight to stay free smoke filled the trees. Ash floated in the air like black snow. The cabin was broken. One wall had been blasted apart. The ground, outside, glowed with burns and cracks. But in the middle of it all stood Nira, her body shining like a small star. Jace was on the ground behind her, blood soaking through the sleeve of his jacket. He wasn't unconscious, but he was too weak to stand. His breath was short. His eyes, though tired, never left her. The alien hunters were regrouping. 4 of them remained. One limped, one carried a cracked arm cannon, and the others aimed glowing weapons at Nira. Their black armor hummed with strange energy. The lead hunter spoke in a sharp alien tongue. Nira understood every word. Stand down, Valari fugitive. Your escape is over. Return to the Empire. Be useful again. Nira didn't reply with words. She raised both hands, and her palms blazed with white-blue fire. "I was never yours," she said in a voice that echoed through the woods. "I am no tool, and I am not afraid anymore." The hunters opened fire. 3 blasts of red energy shot toward her. She moved like wind. The first bolt missed as she spun. The second she caught with one glowing hand and flung back. The third hit her side. She screamed, but stayed standing. Jace watched through blurred vision. "She's fighting for both of us." Nira's armor shifted, solidifying, glowing brighter. Her long hair lifted behind her like silver fire. Her hands came together and formed a spear of light. She rushed forward. The forest lit up. She stabbed the first hunter in the chest. His armor cracked and he fell backward in a blast of sparks. Another swung a blade at her. She ducked, kicked his knee backward, and sent him crashing into a tree. The third fired point blank. Her left arm blocked it, smoking, but she still pushed forward and sent a pulse through his chest plate. But the last one didn't fight. He lifted a small cube into the air. A signal beacon. Nira froze. No. The beacon pulsed red and shot a beam into the sky. From the stars, something responded. Jace forced himself to sit up. "What is that?" Nira stared upward. He called the ship, the Collector. A ship, a prison ship, big enough to hold armies, big enough to hold Earth. The air above them crackled. The clouds split apart. A giant shadow blotted out the moon. A low hum shook the trees. Lights blinked across its belly, dozens of hatches ready to open. Jace's face went pale. "You said you were ready, are you?" Nira looked at him, her eyes filled with both pain and power. "I was afraid before," she said. "Afraid to show who I really am. But not anymore." She stepped forward and raised both arms. Her feet lifted from the ground. Then she screamed. Not in pain, but in fury. Her entire body exploded with light. Trees bent backward from the shockwave. A dome of glowing energy pulsed out from her chest, a shield wide and strong. The Collector ship fired its first beam. It hit the dome and shattered like glass. Jace stared. She blocked it. Nira floated higher, her body now barely visible. In the burning light, wings of energy unfolded behind her, 6 of them, each like a blade of lightning. Her voice echoed across the forest. "You come to steal me again? I choose Earth." Then she unleashed her full power. A beam of pure white light shot from her hands upward into the sky. It hit the Collector ship. The ship shook. Panels cracked. Engines burned. The glow around it faded. Then the great machine vanished. Not exploded, but retreated, jumping away from orbit in a flash of blue. It fled. Nira fell back to the ground. Her glow faded. Her knees hit the dirt. Jace crawled to her. Hey, stay with me." She smiled weakly. "I'm still here." He helped her sit up, holding her close. The hunters were gone. The ship was gone. The forest, broken, but still standing. "You won," he whispered. "No," she said, resting her head on his shoulder. "We won." A new life on Earth. The forest was silent again. The great alien ship had vanished into the stars. The hunters were gone, either defeated or fled. The burned ground steamed softly, and smoke curled into the dawn light like memories leaving the sky. Jace sat on the cold earth, cradling Nira in his arms. Her glow had faded. Her silver hair fell over her face like quiet moonlight. She was breathing, soft, slow, but steady. He wiped the dirt from her cheek. "You're still with me." She opened her eyes. "I chose to be." 3 days passed. Jace patched up the cabin as best he could. He boarded the broken windows, cleaned out the smoke, and covered the burned floor with blankets. Max the dog stayed close to Nira now. No more growls. He treated her like family. Nira had slept the first full day, her body using the sun's light to heal. Her glow returned slowly, faint, soft, but no longer wild. She didn't float or shoot light anymore. She didn't need to. Now, she simply sat with Jace. They ate soup together in silence. "Are they coming back?" he asked finally. She shook her head. "Not soon. I destroyed their tracking link. They'll be blind for a while." He nodded. "So, what now? You go back to space?" Nira looked up at him. "Do you want me to leave?" "No," he said quickly. "But you don't belong here." She smiled. "That's where you're wrong. I don't belong anywhere anymore. Not in the Empire. Not in their war. But Earth. Earth let me hide. Let me heal. Let me be me." Jace was quiet. Then he asked, "What are you now?" Nira thought about it. Then she reached out and touched his chest gently. "I am what you saw. A warrior, a girl, a refugee, a spark of something old, and something new." He smiled. "Sounds like you're a little bit human." She grinned. "Maybe I caught it like a sickness." They laughed softly together. A week passed. News reports began showing strange lights in the sky. Some said it was a comet. Others blamed secret military tests, but nobody mentioned aliens. Earth was still clueless. Jace and Nira avoided town. They stayed in the woods, hidden. But one afternoon as they walked near the river, a voice called out, "Hey, you okay out there?" It was an old man, Jace's neighbor, Old Ray, from a cabin half a mile away. He stood on the trail with a basket of apples and squinted through old eyes. Jace stepped forward, nervous. "Yeah, just camping." Ray looked past him at Nira. Her skin was now dimmed, her glow almost invisible. She looked like a pale girl with unusual eyes. Beautiful. Strange. Ray chuckled. "She your girlfriend?" Jace blushed. Sort." Nira tilted her head and smiled. "Yes," Ray nodded. "Lucky you. Well, be safe. Weather's changing." And with that, the old man walked off. Nira turned to Jace. "Girlfriend?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "It's a human word for someone close. Very close." "I like that word." They started building a garden behind the cabin. Jace dug the soil. Nira used her powers to help seeds grow faster. Flowers bloomed in days. Trees whispered in her presence. Even the birds returned. Jace couldn't stop watching her. Not because she glowed, but because she laughed now. She sang in her alien tongue. She walked barefoot in the grass and stared at the sky, not in fear but in wonder. Once she turned to him and asked, "Do humans ever just stop and feel the sun?" "Not enough," he said. "You should," she replied. "You live on a world full of magic and don't even know it." One night, while lying on the roof of the cabin watching stars, Nira whispered, "There's something I haven't told you." Jace looked over. "What is it?" "My body was made to survive here, but not forever. If I stay too long, I might start to change." "Change how?" She looked at him, her eyes full of light and sadness. "I may become mortal. Like you." Jace took her hand. "Then you'll live. Like me. But I will die. Like you." He smiled. "That's what makes life beautiful." She laid her head on his shoulder. "If I fade, I want to fade beside you." Months passed. Spring came. Then summer. Jace fixed the roof. Nira painted the walls with glowing art. They made a life out of small things. Coffee in the morning, planting herbs, talking about human, books and alien stars. She told him stories of her people, how they used light as language, how their cities floated in oceans of clouds. He told her stories of Earth, how kids chased fireflies and why people danced even without music. One evening a ship appeared, small, sleek, silver. It didn't fire. It didn't make a sound. It simply landed at the edge of the forest. A lone figure stepped out. A Valari woman, armored, her face calm. Nira stood in front of the cabin, waiting. The woman bowed. I am not here to take you back, she said. I am here to offer you a place among the lost. We are rebuilding, a new Valari. No empire. Just peace. Nira was quiet. Then she turned to Jace. He looked at her. I can't ask you to stay, he said softly. But I want to. She looked between him and the ship. I have a better idea, she said. Later that night, the ship left. Jace and Nira were still on Earth. But a signal had been sent. Not a call for help, but a message of hope. The new Valari would watch from afar. Earth would be protected. And Nira? She would stay. She chose Earth. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to build something new. Something human. 1 year later, the garden behind the cabin had grown wild and full. Jace stepped outside with a mug of coffee. Max chased butterflies. And in the garden, Nira stood barefoot in the soil, wearing a long white dress made from sunlight. She turned, glowing faintly. You're late, she teased. I brought breakfast, he said, holding up a loaf of bread. They sat in the grass, eating, laughing. And when the wind passed through the trees, it carried a whisper. One not from this world. Sometimes saving someone else saves you too.